It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, you can see in that sharp interactive board, I brought back Milton Bartley, and Milton Bartley is the CEO and founder of a company called ImageQuest LLC, headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. And folks, you know, I love bringing Milton on because he's got a great story. He took a really small copier dealership about 15 years ago and transitioned that into a fully service managed IT and IT security services firm to the point where they don't even sell print anymore. And I wanted Milton to come on and share his successes for 2022 and talk about his company a little bit, because my friends that are trying to transition are still stumbling down that journey. And I think you need to listen to people that actually do it and do it well. And maybe that can inspire you to get in the right track. Milton, how are you doing, my friend? It's always great having you on, buddy.
Fantastic, Ray. And yes, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I love a dose of reality from Ray. I told my team this morning I was going to do this today, and I said I love talking to Ray because he keeps me honest.
Well, you know, Milton, one thing about you that I've always loved, you know your damn numbers, you know your business, and it's probably attributed to the success that you've had. But let's just start right out of the gate with you. You know, when I talked to you I think it was last November, last October, I wanted to know how you're doing. So can you give me your top line number, and let's talk a little bit maybe about your EBITDA, and let's share some of the things that happened in 2022 over there at ImageQuest.
Yeah, sure. So we're having a really good year. I mean, we're facing some of the same challenges and headwinds that everybody is facing, whether it's the labor market and the cost of labor. And of course, you know, our suppliers have raised prices on us, and we've had to raise prices to our clients. But we've had a great year. We're knocking on the door of 13 million. I don't know that we'll get there at the end of December, but it's going to be really close, which is great growth for us. You know, we were just under 11 million last year. We've tripled the size of the company in the last 4 years, so feeling really good about that top line. And then EBITDA, you know, we're what service leadership would call best in class, if you want to compare yourself that way. So we're feeling really good about where the numbers are, and very good about what 2023 looks like.
Well, you know, last time we talked, you know, you were a little concerned you might take a hit on the EBITDA based on human capital cost in the comparison to where we were back in 2021 or even in 2020. Has that affected you in the way you thought it might?
It has, and we've done some interesting things to help that, I guess. So we did a fairly significant price increase to our clients this summer. I don't mean to say to our clients, but you know, that's what it is. So we did a fairly significant price increase. We had to do that. We hadn't done a big price increase really ever, and we had done some modest price increases a couple of times sporadically, but had not been systematic about it. And so we basically, we played a little catch up with them. So we had a very strong double-digit price increase for our clients over the summer. That's part one, and that's critical to make that part of the culture moving forward, right? Just that's the reality of the world we live in. You can't provide the same and better services and pay people effectively and charge your clients less, right? Or the same. The second thing we've done, I think, you know, we've looked at getting our salaries right and getting our efficiencies right with our team, and then what other things can we offer our employees. So we've dramatically increased our 401k match, and just some other things that are tangible but intangible, right? So really just trying to make people understand the total value of their package they have as being an ImageQuest employee, and it's not always about, you know, what is my hourly rate or what is my salary.
Well, great. You know, Milton, your success story to me really resides around the fact of your customer base and the average revenue per customer. And in case someone's watching you for the first time today, just kind of share with us really quick, how many customers does ImageQuest have? And then explain that customer a little bit.
Yeah, so our customer base today, we break it into two categories, but our recurring revenue customers are, you know, the bulk of what we do. And so a recurring revenue customer to us, we have, I believe, 78 of those today. We got a new banking contract that was literally signed last night, so there's 79 technically today, even though we haven't onboarded them yet. You know, on our average client revenue, I think, Ray, we're just over $13,000 a month now on average for those. You take top to bottom. So, you know, we're blessed to have a really good customer base, and we like to be deep and wide with those clients. So I think we're $13,048 per month through October per client per month right now. So a really solid number.
That's pretty amazing. You know, in the industry of print, you know, and one of the reasons they struggle in this transition is because it's not, your business is nothing like a print business. And I'm so sick of consultants telling our friends that, greatest salespeople, all that nonsense. But, you know, what is if you took your nearly 13 $1 million in revenue. What percentage of revenue is attributed to hardware, if you will?
So less than 10%. I think it's like right at 9% of our revenue, total revenue is hardware.
Okay.
Our revenue split goes like this. Our recurring revenue is 78%.
Okay.
I believe our hardware is like 8.99, so just call it 9%. And then so project revenue, ancillary service revenue is going to be that 13% remaining number.
Wow, and that 13% project revenue, that would be your fee-based assessments, and that would be any kind of projects you do for the clients?
Yeah, so I'm giving you the big picture, not all the little buckets that make that up, but yeah, that's going to be true projects, so things that are not covered by your managed service agreement, onboarding clients, assessments that we sell. It's also on the security side of our business, it's penetration testing and some other one-off things like that we do for some clients.
Well, it's really interesting on this hardware number, because when I was with you, I left in 2016. It's hard to believe it's been that long. But when I left you in 2016, the hardware revenue was about 22%, if I remember right, and I'm pretty sure that's the number. And so we went from 22% down to 9%. I guess you're attributing most of that to the cloud, to the transition to the cloud for the most part.
Yeah, I'd say probably two dynamics that have affected that, right? So going upstream and getting bigger clients, you have a larger recurring revenue, right? Mm-hmm. So that bigger recurring revenue is going to drive that hardware number down naturally. But then, yeah, to your point, we're not selling as much big hardware as we used to. Where we used to go sell somebody, just make up a number, $30,000 worth of servers and licenses to replace old servers and licenses. Now maybe we're moving that to an Azure or an AWS instance, and it's cloud-based. It's becoming a recurring revenue.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it's really changed. I mean, it really, truly today is a services business. When I look at your business and the persona of your customers, and that's what I wanted to ask you next. You're pretty heavy in the financial sector, but you do other sectors. Do you have the breakout of the different sectors that you do business with? Like, how much of your business is coming out of financial?
So our financial services, so we break it into several categories. So financial services is our largest single sector. And I think it's right at 35% of our revenue is from financial services. 27% comes from healthcare. 20% comes from what we call all other services, which can be, it's kind of a catch-all, but it's all other, white collar type businesses. And then insurance is 10%, legal services is 7%, nonprofits are 2%, and then kind of everybody else, I think, filters into the remaining 1.5 or 2% of what I just did.
Well, so obviously the key component for you is financial services. I mean, that's your key. Do you see that growing and maybe, phasing out some of those others, or do you want to keep that mixed portfolio?
Yeah, great question. So I don't want a client to hear this that's not in financial services and think, oh, wait a minute, ImageQuest doesn't want us. No, that's not what we mean. Okay. But yeah, financial services is absolutely where our marketing focus is. That's where we're spending our marketing dollars. We're joining, we have joined community banking associations and banking associations in multiple states because we play well in that arena. On the advisory services side of our business, we have banking experts and banking operational experts. We have a whole skill set on that team that goes far beyond the reach and realm of IT. So again, we've made big investments there, and we're going to continue to capitalize on that. And frankly, community banks are great clients, and trust companies and wealth management are great clients, right? Because I don't have to spend time convincing them they have to do these things right. They already know it. Now they're looking for a partner to help them do it right. A lot of times with other types of businesses, a big piece of the sales process is just convincing them they need to do these things.
Yeah, which is kind of nutty in 2023. So, and I really believe that most of that convincing happens in those really low-end accounts, which is one of the reasons I've been beating all of our friends, even in the IT space, that you got to move upstream. You've got to clearly define a persona of a buyer that is critical, mission critical around security and compliance, and move into that direction. And other than you and my friends over at Impact, you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about that and talking about where their sweet spot is at $10,000 a month in reoccurring services. And last time I talked to you, that was your number. Is that still your number? You did talk about how you would take an unchartered bank, if you will, at $5,000, because once they get their charter, they'll move up to $10,000. So is that still your philosophy?
It is. So we've got two targets, right? So we've got the hard and the soft. So our hard target is $5,000 a month. I mean, it makes zero sense for us to take a client and bring them into the ImageQuest family that can't generate $5,000 a month of recurring revenue. And that doesn't mean that smaller clients don't deserve good service. It just simply means that the factory that we've built to produce what we deliver isn't garnered to do it for somebody that's only going to pay us $1,800 a month or $2,200 a month or $3,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And then our soft target is 10,000, right? So that's to your point. When we look at someone that's smaller than 10, we look at what, what market are they in? If they're a community bank with 30 people, and then it makes sense because we know their business, we know their platforms, and we can support them and we can be profitable and do a great job for them at less than $10,000. But if we looked at them and they were going to be $5,000 a month and they were a manufacturing company, we're probably not going to go after that business simply because that's just not who we are. And they deserve, just like we deserve clients that fit our stack and fit our profile, those potential clients deserve an IT provider that caters to what they do.
Do you see any threat, and here's a guy and, you're out there and you have a focused customer, you have a focused revenue you want to get from that customer. It's definitely upstream. But do you see a threat for other MSPs that are sticking around that 3 and 2? And I mean, we see some advertisements out there, $1,800, $2,000 a month for IT services. What threats do you see for those types of MSPs?
Oh, I mean, I guess a couple of things, Ray. I don't know how these guys make money. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're just built a lifestyle business where they're just happy with what they get each month and that's okay. But I guess the real threat is, I just don't think we're too far away from a major global player or major global players. AT&T is one I know you and I have talked about in the past, but others launching a platform for, pick a number, sub 50 user businesses that are non-regulated, and providing help desk services, NOC services, security operations services, internet, everything under one bundle. I think that would be a real threat because if I'm a buyer on the other side of that equation and I have a fairly simple network and Ruby users to support and 2 or 3 applications and we've moved into the cloud, and I'm thinking as that person, we've moved a lot of our stuff to cloud. It's SaaS based now. What is the level of effort to support us? I still don't want to go hire IT people, but do I trust AT&T to do it? Probably. Do I trust Amazon to do it? Probably. Sure. So I think there's a real threat there.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think they're going to base it on the security platform. Even if those customers have a relationship with that local guy or gal, they're going to say, yeah, but you really can't keep me safe. Or I don't have that feeling that you can keep me safe as the threats keep emerging. So I think that's a real
I was in a call this morning, literally in a training in this room this morning with one of our vendors, and I won't name the vendor, but one of their claims that we've really latched onto is, when you call them for support, A, it's all US based. B, there is no tier 1, 2 support. It's all tier 3 support. They've only hired tier 3 engineers so that when you get somebody on the phone, they know exactly what they're doing. And the reason we actually use them, we outsource a critical piece of our management for some of our regulated clients to this company. And the reason we do that is because they've got 50 tier 3 engineers at the ready where I might have 8, right? And so it's such a critical piece. Do I want to put my eggs in a basket of 8 or eggs in a basket of 50, right? Sure. And if you're talking about an AT&T coming into the market, it's going to be eggs in the basket of hundreds, if not thousands of engineers that are capable of delivering that service.
Well, that's like, I remember we built the help desk, back in, what was that, 2015, I guess?
2015, exactly. Yeah, 7 years ago this month, we were testing it together.
We brought that in-house, and one of the things that we were pretty adamant about was let's only hire at least level 2 when we're going to hire any level 1. What's the sense of that? We didn't need someone to answer the phone and pass it on. We wanted someone to answer the phone and solve the problem. So,
correct.
Milton, you've done a lot of things right. Let me ask you this question. Would you ever consider starting an MSP today without a really, really heavy compliance and the people and the human capital to be able to do that compliance assessments? Would you do it without that piece?
Well, it's a loaded question a little bit for me because I'm doing it and have been for 6 years. But no, I probably wouldn't, knowing what I know today, because I think that makes it so much easier to get in and talk to the client if you're speaking their language. I mean, Ray, you'll remember this. When I was lucky enough to sit on stage with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, in front of 500 of my peers a couple of years ago, he asked me a question similar to that. He said, so tell me what you're offering to wealth management firms, because he owns several wealth management firms. And I said, well, we're leading with a compliance story. And his ears perked up and he said, compliance. Okay, now you have my attention. He said, if you call my office and want to talk to us about managing our IT or managing our network, we're probably going to tell you no or send you down the hall to Susie who runs facilities. He said, but if you tell me you want to talk about compliance, my ears perk up and you have my attention because it's the single biggest cost in my business and it's the fastest growing cost. And if you can help me address it, then I want to talk to you. And I took good notes that day.
Yeah.
We changed our talk track since that day. And I believe, I mean, I'll give Kevin O'Leary some credit. I believe he actually helped us to build what we have today.
Well, that's pretty amazing because, you know, I think you're spot on. A differentiator between one MSP to the other one and they answer the phone quicker is pretty stupid today. And we still hear some of that. Or, you know, just some of this commodity. You know, IT services, it can be a commodity up to a certain point. We all would agree with that. And a lot of folks believe their differentiator is in reality, what they believe to be their differentiator is really a commodity. And so I think ImageQuest is doing a lot of great things. It's always great having you on, Milton. Is there anything you want to add before we end today's episode?
I just reiterate what we just said. I think if I'm talking to your audience, right, and your audience being largely made up of folks in the office equipment industry that either have transitioned, are trying to transition, or watching somebody transition, I just think don't get caught up in changing the marketing language and calling things cybersecurity that in reality are commodities. Figure out what really security and compliance are, and probably buy an industry niche, and then figure out how to deliver around that. And then, because every MSP out there, from the 3-person shop to the $300 million company, are leading with cybersecurity, because that's what everybody has to lead with today. But it's just words if you can't get in there and talk the talk with these folks about their very specific regulatory and compliance issues in finance, in, you know, trust company and banking, insurance, in large healthcare. So, you know, become a specialist and not a generalist is my advice.
And you're not going to transition some hardware-centric sales rep to go out and sell cybersecurity unless that person actually transitioned his knowledge and learned something. But Milton, you know, I always appreciate having you on. I look forward to having you on again because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo. We'll see you all on Monday.